right, so we've rolled out some black fondant fairly thin, and we're going to be using this Marvelous Molds Onlay. So it's just a piece that we're going to actually press up against the cake. So what we're going to do is I've rolled it out fairly thin, and I'm going to lay this over the top of the Onlay, and I'm going to start pressing it in so that it stays in place. And then the way these Onlays are created, they actually have cutters kind of built in. So if you roll your roller over it, you can see where it's starting to cut the fondant. So I'm just going to roll it. I'm going to roll my edges. And this is why you have to roll it pretty thin, so that it's in deep enough into the Onlay so that the cutters can actually do their job. So I've got the edges pretty much cut. And now I want to make sure the insides are nice and cut. And you can kind of tell they're cutting when you start to see the green come through. So I'm just very carefully, I don't want the fondant to shift inside the cutter, so I'm just going to very carefully roll my roller over it and make sure it feels like it's cutting everything. Okay, I think I've got most of it. Let me try it. I'm going to take my pieces, and I want to decide which pieces I want to stay and which pieces I want to go. So I'm taking out these center pieces because I want to have the pattern be what's staying on my cake. So you can see I'm taking those out of the mold. And if you have a rough edge like that, I don't know if you can see that little bit of a rough edge right there, you can just take your finger and just kind of push it back down in again. So I'm going to take all of these out, and then I'm going to show you how to attach this to your cake. Okay, so I've got my pieces all pulled out, and now I have, this is the pattern that's going to go on the cake. The way these onlays work, this lines up right across the bottom, so you can just take this and line it up like this and wrap it around your cake. But you want to make sure that it's going to release. So one thing you want to do is you want to stretch the onlay in kind of all different directions. And what that's doing is that's somewhat releasing the fondant from the onlay. So I'm going to do that, and then I do a little extra trick is I put it in the freezer for about, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes, because that also freezes it and it lets it release. So I've got it nice and stretched, and now I'm going to go ahead and put this in the freezer for a few minutes so that now I've loosened it, and then I'm going to freeze it. So I'm going to put this in the freezer, and then we'll come back and we'll apply it to the cake. All right, so I'm taking it out of my freezer, and I'm going to very quickly put some water on these edges so they'll actually stick. I want to work fast because I don't want to lose that nice frozen fondant I have. You know that it thaws pretty quickly. And now I'm going to take it and I'm going to press it up against like this. And I'm going to start slowly peeling my onlay away. And I can see if it's sticking, and if it's not, I'm actually pressing against that area. And a lot of times it helps to have a tool where if it's not quite coming out, you can kind of coax it out with your tool and press it down. I'll turn this way so you can see. Press it down a little bit so it comes out. There we go. So see, I'm kind of helping it, coaxing it out as I go around to make sure that every piece is sticking. Look at that piece on here. It looks like it's coming out pretty good. You don't want to rush it because you'll stretch the pieces and then they'll lose their shape. And you don't want it to lose its shape. You want it to have that great, I think this is a Moroccan shape, so you want to have it have that nice shape on it when it comes off. There we go. Get those last few pieces to stick. There we go. And you can see you've got nice shape on your cake. So we're going to do that again. What's great about this mold is you can actually see when you place it on there, you can line it right up again and it'll butt right up against it. So we're going to go ahead and do another section. and finish this side off. All right, so we've got our onlay on there. We're going to add another little detail because it's all about the details. So I've mixed up some royal icing, and I mixed it up in black because I don't want any white on here. And I'm just going to put a dab of royal icing in the center of each of these little shapes. I'm going to do 5 at a time. And then I'm going to take a black pearl and attach it right there to my little dab of royal icing. And that's just going to give it a little bit more detail because it's all about the details. I do 5 at a time because that way the royal, you don't want to do many more than that because your royal is going to dry and then the pearl's not going to attach. So you really just want to do a few at a time to make sure that the pearl has something to attach to and the royal hasn't dried out.